You're watching Pyro Media Network. Hello, Pyro Media family. Thank you for tuning in. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. We hope your experience with us is fruitful. While we are loading your experience, please do us a quick favor and hit that like button from whichever platform you're watching or listening on. And we do hope you consider hitting that subscribe or follow button so you can check out more of our amazing content. All right, let's start the show.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Conversations with Clergy with your boy, Dr. Donta Morrison. You all know how it goes. These conversations are designed to really elevate and educate our discussions about the faith community and their response to a lot of different situations, specifically sexual health, COVID-19, and what have you. Things that are kind of considered taboo to talk about and discuss. But hey, I'm your boy. I've researched this. I've talked about this. I've unpacked this, and I've had clergy from across the country come on and say how important it is for the church to get more involved in the fight against HIV, in the fight against all the stigmas and stereotypes and faith-based sexual exclusion and all that kind of stuff, so we can be more welcoming spaces for everyone to come and learn and grow. So Conversations with Clergy is also sponsored by the HIV Vaccine Trials Network. The HVTN is a international think tank of researchers that really do deep dives into finding out how we can best combat situations like tuberculosis, HIV, COVID-19, and what have you. So to learn more about the HVTN, please go to www.hvtn.org. Once you're on that website, go ahead and peruse around and see what they're talking about, see what's going on, and then also go to Faith-Based Initiative, and you'll see myself and my colleagues in this journey and what we're doing across the country to make sure that these topics are really addressed and unpacked. Also, another supporter of Conversations with Clergy is Church One Ministries. Church One Ministries is located in the wonderful city of Long Beach under the tutelage of Bishop W. Todd Ervin Sr. They are really involved in the fight against HIV and doing their part to create more inviting and inclusive spaces for worship. So I'm excited about that. More excited because today I have two members of Church One who are going to partake in the conversation. And we're going to really talk about what the church can do to really further the agendas and further the truths and further the missions and the purposes associated with community change. So with that being said, please help me welcome to Conversations with Clergy two guests who are not strangers. The first one is Elder Jackie Seals, and the second is co-pastor Kimberly Ervin. Welcome back to Conversations with Clergy. Here they come. Welcome back.
Hello. Thank you. It's good to be back.
Yeah, how y'all doing?
I'm still,
It's still at work. I get it. I totally understand. But the good thing is conversation with clergy is only 30 solid minutes. So we're gonna just really have these conversations and really do a continuation of what we talked about last time. Our only person missing is Reverend Dr. Najuma Smith. She's probably in other stuff. She does a lot of stuff. So I'm not even mad at her for not making this episode. I'll get it back on. We'll do a solo one-off, she and I. But for those that don't know, co-pastor Kim Ervin and Elder Jackie Sills, like I said earlier, are members of Church One Ministries in Long Beach. And for those that don't know, Church One did a lot of work when it came to COVID education and COVID testing. At the height of the pandemic, Church One became a COVID testing location, and we were always giving out free COVID-19 tests. Even to this day, we're still giving out free COVID-19 at-home tests. So if anyone out there needs to be tested or want to get some at-home test kits, stop by the church, 700 East 70th Street, Long Beach, California, 90805. But with that being said, I want to just pull in co-pastor Kim to talk about the work that Church One did during the height of the pandemic, and why do you think it was so important for the church to be a hub for COVID education, COVID testing, and just COVID awareness?
Yeah. So, of course, the pandemic was something we've never experienced before. And because of that, I don't know. I think back in the day, the church was seen as the hub of the community. The church was seen as the place where people could come get their needs met. They could come for shelter, food, clothes, whatever it is that they needed. It was just like a place where people could just come in and share ideas and talk. And so when the pandemic hit, we, like everybody else, didn't know what to do. We really didn't know. And not only did we not know what to do, but at some point, we didn't even know what we could do because they had put so many restrictions on. We started out with the 100 people only in church. Then it went down to the 50. Then it went down to you could only have 10. Right. And so we had moved from that to, having service with just the praise team and Bishop Ervin. And the people who function with the social media. And so we went that, and then finally we said, hey, we're gonna take it home. And so we followed the protocols as they were set, but as you remember, we never knew what was going to happen. We never knew when it was going to change. Right. But one thing we did know was that people still needed help. And we knew that they needed resources. And at that time, so many people were getting COVID and dying. Right. We knew that people needed to know if they were COVID positive, if they had COVID, and they needed to know so that they could isolate themselves, so that they could protect their families. So if they were people who worked in congregate care and hospitals and doctors and police, they needed to know if they were COVID positive, because you're out doing your job, but you're out infecting people at the same time, and so it was just important for us as a church to do what needed to be done. So we not only supplied COVID testing, and in that, the COVID testing also helped people with employment. Right. Because they were able to get jobs, right. And good jobs, right. COVID good, and so they were able to get jobs. We were able to help the community. And not only did we provide COVID testing, but we also provided food. So every week people would come, and I'll never forget, our administrator told us how people would drive up in Mercedes Benz and nice cars, and they would hide them out on the street because they felt like, here I am asking for food and I'm driving a Mercedes, or I'm driving this luxury car. Look, we don't care what you're driving. If you need help, you need help, because people were losing their jobs. They couldn't go to work, so it was so much going on. We just knew that we needed to help the community as much as we possibly could. So that's what we did.
And in doing that, did you ever miss any kind of pushback from other churches? Because there were also a lot of churches that were very anti vaccine, anti this, anti that. Did the church ever see resistance from that kind of work?
Well, we just see resistance, period. So it don't have to be COVID, all right? So, I'm just gonna say it. So,
Right.
yes, we did. We did. Because a couple times, well, I think one or two times we actually had, once the vaccine came out, we actually we were psyched for people to come and take the vaccine. And, there were some churches that were like, we're not doing that because we don't believe in that. And then
Right.
here's the other thing too, Dr. Dante, is that not only did we get pushback on we don't want to take the vaccine, but we also got pushback when we took our little happy church on home and started broadcasting from the house. People were saying, oh, you got to believe God. You got to trust him. Y'all not trusting God. And I said, I had COVID and I almost died. What are you talking about?
Right.
I was on my back for 30 days.
Yeah.
30 days.
Yeah.
So there are some who didn't make it. And we lost quite a few people during that time. So no, I trust God. I trust God that he's going to tell me to use wisdom and follow those instructions.
I love that. Right. I love that.
That the medical profession are giving us.
Mm-hmm. So, and I think that's the purpose of these conversations, because I'm really trying to marry, religion and science. And we say trust God and ask God and believe God for an answer or a cure. And then when the answer and the cure comes through the form of research, a lot of us is like, nah, I'm not doing that. But you ask God, Lord, get us out of this quickly. Right. Get us out of this swiftly. Lord, bring a change now. And then when that rapid change comes, we like, no, this ain't God. This happened too fast.
Right.
Well, come on, saints. What's going on? Elder Jackie, I see you nodding your head. What are your thoughts about that?
I just think that the way Church One handled COVID, because it was something that we had never done before, was as good as it could be. I mean, we were all trying to figure it out, and no one person really had the answers. So why do we have to act like we do?
Right. Nobody had the answers.
Yeah. My mom used to tell us, I did the best I could with what I had.
Exactly.
Right. So that's what we did. We did the best we could to keep it pushing. And what I loved about Church One is they kept it pushing.
We did.
Right? We kept moving.
We kept moving.
Was there ever a time during the pandemic, and we're talking about, COVID and what that did, and we're going to lead up to where we are now. Was there ever a time during that season, or during that time that you were like, you know what, shut everything down? And there's a lot of Christians that was like, well, wait a minute, I got to get into the building. How did you navigate that space of the people, the saints of God need to assemble, they want to come together, but the safety and research is telling us, hey, Selena, the research is telling us, yeah, we can't do this. This is not wisdom. How did you navigate that, or what was the challenge that you found in that?
It was a big challenge. And I think at first it was a big challenge because I don't really think anybody really believed that what was happening was happening. It was kind of like 9/11. I always remember 9/11 because that was my first day working at a new job. Okay. I was getting a teaching job. I had just got a teaching job. And I remember getting up and the TV was on downstairs and I'm looking at this plane fly into a building. And I'm like, is that a movie? What, y'all looking at a movie in the morning? It's like, right. What are we watching movies for? And then when all of this started happening, it was hard to believe. It was really hard to believe. So people, sometimes when we don't believe something or we don't believe that this thing is really happening, we act like that. So we're resistant to instructions and we're resistant to what the recommendations that they have, and so it for us, It was difficult because, first of all, it was difficult for us to figure out how to have church from home. Okay. Yeah. And so we got all set up, and, Sunday morning I would get up, get the studio set up, get the camera and all that stuff going, and even with praise and worship, we felt like there needed to be some kind of music, some kind of something. And so we just figured out creative ways to make it work. Now, here's the thing. After a while, the resistance to it kind of faded away. And then people got used to not coming into the sanctuary,
Right,
and so it was like, hey, I kind of like this. And to be honest with you, Bishop, and I was like, this is kind of cool. I would shop online and I would buy all kinds of tops. Didn't have to buy pants because, the bottom was expanding anyway because we used so much, and so, we got used to it. So when we had to come back into the sanctuary, we were like, oh, we got to get up, we got to get dressed, we got to get in the car,
we got to
drive to the church, all of that. And then there are still people who have never come back. They watch every Sunday, but they have never come back. And that was some getting used to. Yeah. And we respect it. At first we were like, no, y'all got to come into the sanctuary. No, some people will never come into the sanctuary. And we had to become okay with that.
And we'll talk about that in a moment. Elder Jackie, how was it for you to go from being in church every Sunday and all the time and Bible study and whatnot to this instant shutdown? You cannot go back by law. It wasn't like it was legally, you could not go back. And then the doors kind of cracked open, but we were still in the pandemic. It was still like only 10, only 15. You still got to wear your mask. And I recall there was even a time people had to RSVP to come to church. And we had a list. If you're not on the list, you can't get in because we have a max and we can't go over the max. We don't want to get a fine, and all that. So how was that evolved for you, Elder Sills?
Well, let me speak first for myself personally, and then about being on the ministry team and getting calls from different members. Like, do you know what's going on? Well, for me, my thing was, it was such a shock that not only could I not go to church, but I couldn't go to work in certain stores I couldn't go to. It was just this complete, just my world being turned upside down. And to add the illness or the death of friends and family members, and the church is a place where I go to find peace in those moments. And then now I couldn't go to find peace. And then there's those that are calling me in ministry saying, well, you know what? I don't understand what's going on. And why can't we do this? And why? No, like I'm struggling just like you are.
Just like you.
And why would you think I got the answer? Do you want to pray? Because I can pray. That was mostly like my answer, I didn't have any answers. And then I used to be the parent, like, you gotta go to church, you gotta go to church, you gotta go to church, And all of a sudden, my kids are looking at me like, So it was huge.
I love that. So listen, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, Elder Jackie, you opened the door to something I really want to talk about that I think no church is really talking about right now. I want to talk about the trauma in the aftermath and what the church should be doing to help people heal from what we experienced over those 3 years. We'll take a quick commercial break. Thank y'all for tuning in. Please invite your friends, family, cousins, and loved ones to the second part of Conversations with Clergy. We'll be right back in about 2 minutes. Are you ready for enlightening conversations that transcend boundaries? Get ready for Conversations with Clergy, brought to you by the HIV Vaccine Trials Network. In partnership with the world's largest publicly funded international collaboration, the HVTN is dedicated to evaluating vaccines to prevent HIV and COVID-19. But their impact doesn't stop there. The HVTN is at the forefront of advancing vaccinology, social and behavioral sciences, statistics, immunology, and even contributing to the research on tuberculosis and COVID-19 vaccines. By supporting Conversations with Clergy, the HVTN not only brings you thought-provoking discussions, but also contributes to the global effort to combat infectious diseases. Tune in, stay informed, and be a part of the change. Conversations with Clergy, supported by the HVTN, empowering conversations, empowering lives. Join us in this journey of knowledge, understanding, and progress. Conversations with Clergy, proudly brought to you by the HIV Vaccine Trials Network, because together we can make a difference.
Because self-care should be luxurious. Luxe Noir.
Catch the electrifying sounds of Bulletin Flight Radio anywhere you go? Yes, you heard it right. Tune in to the high-flying beats and soaring melodies by downloading the TuneIn app on your mobile device. Just search for Bulletin Flight Radio and hit play. It's that easy. And if you have a smart device like Alexa or Google, just say, "Hey Google," or "Alexa, play Bulletin Flight Radio on TuneIn." Experience the rush of adrenaline wherever you are. Listen to Bulletin Flight Radio on TuneIn using your Alexa or Google devices. Soaring through the skies has never sounded this good. Don't miss out on the ultimate musical journey. Tune in now to Bulletin Flight Radio on TuneIn and let the music take you on an unforgettable ride. Get ready to elevate your listening experience. Brought to you by Bulletin Flight Radio.
Hey everyone, welcome back to part 2 of Conversations with Clergy. My special guests today are co-pastor Kimberly Ervin and Elder Jackie Seals, both from Church One Ministries out in Long Beach. If you've not checked out Church One Ministries, please visit their website at www.church-one-ministries.com. Go ahead and check out Church One and see everything that Church One has to offer. If you're in the city of Long Beach or the surrounding cities, you can always stop by Church One for your Sunday morning worship experience at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Church One is at 700 East 70th Street, Long Beach, California, 90805. And Church One is also one of the sponsors of Conversations with Clergy, because Church One is definitely invested in the fight to make sure that we are all aware of COVID-19 and staying healthy, getting tested, getting vaccinated, and what have you. All right. So before we went to the break, we unpacked a lot of stuff that happened during the pandemic. Churches closing down. People can't get in to have their in-person worship. A lot of churches literally not reopening because they didn't know how to pivot into a social media environment, didn't have the tech savvy to make it all work. So the doors just didn't open. Thank God that didn't happen at Church One. Yeah. But now here we are in 2024. 2024, and we look back over all that we survived and overcame. Many of us had COVID. I had it twice. I believe co-pastor, you had it twice. Jackie, did you have it?
Yes.
You had it twice. We all had it twice. So we've experienced COVID, but I think co-pastor had the OG COVID.
I had the OG COVID.
Yeah,
Okay.
she had the COVID. You know. She had COVID's mama.
I got my badge.
Right. She had COVID.
Survived.
But there was a vaccine and everything.
Right.
She had COVID. So now here we are in 2024, and a lot of people are still dealing with COVID trauma.
Yes.
Even people who pray daily, they fast, they intercede, they know God, but they're dealing with COVID trauma because they lost loved ones and didn't get to have memorial services or funerals. They did have a funeral. It was limited. My father passed away of COVID. His funeral, I could only have 10 people there. Yeah. How do you pick which 10 get to come?
Right.
You know, and then going back into their places of worship, and people who used to be in pew number 4 are not there because COVID, and they transitioned. So what can we do now to rebuild? And in addition to that, Lucretia Renault made a very poignant statement talking about, in the midst of all of that, we still had systemic oppression. We had a lot of racial uprising. Ooh, we had George Floyd, we had the police.
Yes. We had trauma.
We had a lot of stuff that happened in the midst of a pandemic. The government couldn't lead us through it. The police were doing all that stuff. So it was just a lot of trauma that was happening during that time. Yeah. Some people lost faith in the church, especially Black people, because they're like, where are y'all at? What's going on? They're out here killing us. We're dying, and we don't see you anywhere in the fight like you were back in the civil rights movement. So when you throw all of that into the pot, and then you open the doors and say, okay, everybody, come on back. We're open again. Folks are like, am I going back to the same space? You know, where was your evolve? So I'm gonna let you two talk about that, you know, just as women in leadership. You know, and there are women out there who are like, I don't want to come back. You know, what do you say?
Well, let me say that I think one of the most hurtful parts of when we decided that it was time to come back, and I think some people thought we just got up one morning and said, you know what, I think we're gonna go back to church. And that's not how that happened.
Right.
We mulled over that, prayed, asked God to give us direction for a long time. Even after, well, let me start here. Let me say that there were some of our counterparts, if you will, who never stopped going.
Right.
They never stopped having church in person. You know, and we were looking at them like, whoa. And then sometimes, you know, for a minute there, you think, okay, they never stopped. Do we not have faith? You know, you start to question yourself.
Yeah.
Then we started seeing some of them get COVID. Some of them almost leave here because of it, you know. But I know a church that never stopped. The pastor and his wife got COVID, got deathly ill. And they never stopped having church. Never stopped, you know, but I never had any judgment, because I feel like your walk and your journey with God is just that, yours. But when we first decided to come back, of course, we were masking up, like you said. We were, you know, you had to register to come to church. At some point, you had to show your vaccine card. Very resistant to that. You know, you had to wear a mask. You had to, you know, lather up with the
hand sanitizer.
It
was like going into surgery. We had to walk in like backwards.
Then we had sections. So individuals sit here, families sit here, couples sit, you know, it was a lot. It was a lot. And it was just really difficult. But I think the part that was the most hurtful, if I could just be transparent, was that some of our members really did not give Bishop and I much consideration, that not only were they traumatized, but we were traumatized too. We really were. And we were, they were losing family members and friends and things. We were losing family members and friends and things. Bishop lost a lot of people during COVID. But we were losing members. We were losing key people in the ministry back to back. And it was scary and it was hurtful. It was painful, but we still had to like keep that stiff upper lip so that we could be strong for the people. And I think people expected us to make all the right decisions. And we were like, we don't know what a right decision is right now. We're just trying to make it work, trying to get it going, trying to keep the people coming. Some people were mad that we started back. Some people were mad we started back, but they came and they stood in the back and they were mad in the back. And I was like, if you mad, go home. Go home. Just go home.
It's really okay.
We still on Facebook Live. You can watch from there.
Really okay.
People were mad at us because we didn't address the mental health part of it. So then when we tried to put a plan in place to address the mental health part of it, people didn't want to invest. They wanted the church to just foot the whole bill, take care of the whole thing. And we were like, we're just coming back. We don't have this much money to pay for everybody to have mental health services, So it was just really difficult. Bishop and I, we were trying to figure out, what do we do? We would go home and sometimes we would just look at each other like, are we doing the right thing? Should we be back? What should we do? And sometimes we felt like we thought we heard God's voice. Maybe we didn't. I don't know. But people, I felt like not everyone, because some people was like, look, we got y'all's back, co-pastor, we got you. But present company included.
Yeah.
But there were people who were just like, you guys didn't do this and you guys didn't do that and you didn't take care of us. And we were like, we try to take care of ourselves.
Right.
If you keep in mind, we were in COVID too. We were there. We experienced it just like you. I had a daughter who worked in the emergency room every single night. And let me tell you, our process for her to come home from work was I met her in the garage, masked up, covered up. She would get undressed in the garage, put her clothes in a plastic bag, put on a robe out in the garage. I would take the plastic bag to the washing machine or dryer, put it in there, wash it in hot water with all the Lysol stuff. And that was our process every single day that she came home from work. But people don't know about that.
They don't know that.
They don't know
You're still a pastor.
Right. I stayed upstairs in my bedroom for 2.5 weeks I didn't descend for 2.5 weeks because I had a mother-in-law who was 92 or 3 and a brother-in-law who was not very, healthy. And I was thinking, if I gave them COVID, I would just feel so bad.
Yeah.
So, when I came downstairs, I was like, it's a whole new world, Mm-hmm. And I was still weak. Even though I was COVID, I was negative. It took me another month to really get my strength back. So we were in the fight too, but it was hurtful. I got to be honest. It was hurtful the way some of our people responded to us.
Thank you for that. And I think that's the part that a lot of people don't know. And that's really what conversations with clergy is all about, to hear what clergy experience. And you basically said you're human too.
Yeah.
Human too, and please respect you as such.
Yeah.
And I think that we often make the mistake of elevating man to a level that we try to make them equivalent to God. And It's like, wait a minute. The fact that you were in your bedroom for 2.5 weeks, the fact that your own child worked in the emergency room and y'all had a routine. Meanwhile, people are calling you about their issues. You're like, I'm on the phone helping my daughter, wait a minute. And I think that's important to know because we have to like my Uncle Kenny just said, it goes to show you, you cannot please everyone. You cannot please everyone. And shout out to my frat brother, Andre Harris. He's also clergy. And I'm going to get you on one day, brother, talk about your experience, you know, being clergy and dealing with the saints in the midst of something major. Sister Creed just said, right, if you get cut, you bleed too. And that's important to know. So Elder Jackie, you want to chime in on that? I mean, co-pastor just shared a lot, but you want to chime in?
You know, you're asking like, how do we help them to get back and deal with the trauma? I think it's what you're doing. It's having conversations, but not just a conversation about how bad or good it was, but both. Because some of the people, like co-pastor said, you know, at the beginning they felt one way, and then they changed their mind, and then there were probably people who said, we got to get back into church, and they ain't back yet, right? And so that whole process, everybody went through, and I feel like it's necessary to invite you into my process and understand yours without judgment.
Yes.
Because I don't feel like there was any one person in all the news I was watching and all the pastors I was watching and, you know, my job, and, you know, no one just said, we know exactly what to do.
Right.
This is what to do to get through it.
Right.
You know, so because of that, I feel like at this point, when I see people that are struggling, because I remember a time when we started saying, when it was time to go back, oh, well, you could go to the club, but you can't come to the church house.
Yeah.
Right.
Church house.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And then, I seen you out at that restaurant.
Right.
You was there.
You posting it on Facebook.
Without a mask, no gloves, no nothing.
Right.
You was there.
And you the main one
Willy-nilly.
that had a problem with the way we was handling it.
Right. Right.
So I just think we just need to fess up. Everybody just need to fess up and be like, you know, we didn't know. And so now you begin to, you know, step by step, get it back together. And then just admit when you're saying to yourself, you know, it's kind of nice to be at home. Just admit it.
I think that's the part. I think, Elder Jackie, that is it right there. It's like COVID provided an excuse.
It did.
It provided a way out. And at one point, like I said, yes, it was a legal way out, because legally I cannot come to church. I gotta obey the laws of the land. I can't do it. And then when those doors reopened, I think we had such a wonderful taste of, I'm not going to say freedom, but such a wonderful taste of how it felt to just get up and do that. I remember for New Year's Eve, our watch night service was virtual. Yeah. And I had on a bow tie and a black blazer and the whole nine with some shorts underneath it. In front of the camera, I'm giving you New Year's Eve when we finna celebrate God. But once the camera went off, I had on shorts and a tank top. So it was like, you know, I think when we get to the root, and we only got 5 minutes left, y'all. 5 minutes left. Yeah. We get to the root of, and this is not a come to Jesus conversation.
Right.
We're getting to the root of why you're not back. Or why you not come back. Let's stop saying, well, you know, COVID. Let's stop saying, oh, you know, the pandemic. Let's stop saying all that. Let's get to the root and the core. And I think it's important for these kind of conversations to happen so people can feel safe explaining, this is the real reason why. Right. This is why you see me at brunch and not at church. This is really why. This is really why. Yeah. And I think and co-pastor used to always say, let's have a hot conversation. Yeah. Honest, open, and transparent.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. And when we have these hot conversations, you may say some things I do not want to hear and I may not agree with. But like Elder Jackie said, that's your truth and that is your experience.
That's right.
And I will never disrespect you by taking that away.
That's right.
And I think we're now in a season as the church evolves and the church grows and all that, we need to have these hot conversations so people can unpack what they have been through pre-pandemic. A lot of folks had issues before COVID,
Right.
and COVID just kind of helped, you know. And my brother Jeffrey Howard just said, let's be honest, what are they coming back to? And Jeffrey is down south, I think South Carolina, right? Jeffrey, South Carolina. He's been on Conversations with Clergy a few times, and he and I and Pastor Adi had a conversation and just really dug deep. And he's saying where they come back to. And I think that's a phenomenal question, because now we're in a season of revamping, and repurposing the Black church. And I say the Black church specifically because I'm part of the Black church.
Right.
We're repurposing it and somewhat rebranding it so it can be that welcoming space, you know, void of all the traditional systemic stuff that kind of oppressed us a bit.
Right.
And allow folks to come and exhale and to breathe. You know, LaStar Powell just said a lot feel they're coming back to the same drama, you know, which makes sense. It's like, yo, I done lost my father. I done lost my friends. I'm not going to come back in here and deal with y'all because I may snap.
Right.
You know, I just may snap because the old me knew how to do all the pomp and circumstance and have that facade. But the broken, still grieving me, I ain't there. And it may get ugly in these pews. I don't care.
That's right.
That's real.
It's just, you know, and me and Elder Jackie, we've had real conversations about we're real people.
Yes.
You know, and we can be triggered too. We have emotions, we have responses that are not always Christ-like. You know, we're still evolving and growing. So I think this was a great beginning to more conversations. You know, Andre and Jeffrey, I want to get y'all on the show together because you two brothers, trust, I love both of y'all. I want to get y'all on here. Co-pastor and elder, I'm gonna give y'all time to give some closing comments because we can keep going with this one.
Right.
Some closing comments. So Elder Jackie, I'm gonna start with you. What you want the folks to take away from this talk?
I think that if we would stop and just be still and be honest with our own selves, even don't judge our own self, right?
Wow.
And just be able to say, I have a responsibility to the kingdom. Does God want me to work that responsibility out? I have to be a part. I have to participate in my faith. How do I do that at this point?
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Co-pastor Kim?
You know, just in closing, I think we don't really realize how much we learned during COVID. Someone put on the comments how we learned how to be with our families. We did. We learned how to be with our families. We learned, you know, the things. We learned that what triggers us, you know, being at home with our families. But most of all, we learned that we are not in control of anything. What we witnessed happened, hundreds of years ago, and we actually experienced something that our generation of people that we know of, our grandmothers and great grandmothers, never experienced ever before in life. And instead of still being angry and mad, go get your therapy, go talk to somebody, go get yourself healthy so that we can take a different perspective of what really happened and how we are still here and survived it. So that's what I want people to take away.
I love it. I love it. Everybody, that concludes this episode of Conversations with Clergy. I know you want to see them back on again. We'll get them back on again. Don't worry about it. Elder Jackie loves doing this kind of stuff. So for more information about Conversations with Clergy and what I do as a faith ambassador, please visit the HVTN or the HIV Vaccine Trials Network. Go to their website, www.hvtn.org, to learn more about them. Also, check out the section that says faith ambassadors, not faith ambassadors, faith-based initiative. You'll see myself and all the other faith consultants here within America. We're all across the country and we do this kind of work. So I appreciate the support. I appreciate the love. Also, shout out to Church One Ministries, who is also a co-sponsor of Conversations with Clergy. Visit www.church-1-ministries.com. There you go. There it is right there. Or check them out on Facebook and YouTube. Also, you can follow Co-Pastor Kim and Elder Jackie Seals on Facebook. They both have Facebook pages, and they both will write you back. Check them out. Also, shameless plug: if anybody's looking for a job, reach out to Jackie Seals. She works in the deployment department, and she can get you a job. Trust me, tomorrow. Hit her up. So that wraps up.
No pressure.
Right. Shout out to Pyro Media Network and the phenomenal team behind the scenes that makes this happen.
Yes.
Those who have been supporters, I appreciate you. I love you, and I thank you so much. And we'll be back next week for another round of Conversations with Clergy. Take care, good night, and God bless.
Good night.
Thank you for watching Pyro Media Network. For more information, please visit pyromedianetwork.com.